Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. So today I'm going to give a brief introduction into Neo4j before going in subsequent videos into the actual coding using Neo4j desktop. So first off, what is Neo4j? So first, it's a graph database that is ACID compliant, for those of you who know what transactional databases are or transactional components are. The data is stored in a series of nodes rather than within different tables or documents. The relationships are actually written to disk, which is very great for performance rather than trying to build relationships on the fly when you're actually executing queries. And the last thing is it uses a language called the cipher query language. Let's take a quick example. Let's say we have a person and his name is John. And we know a few facts about John, such as maybe his career or where he lives and his relationship status. And now let's say we want to kind of translate all of these attributes that we have about John and kind of put them into a Neo4j database. The first thing that you should know about Neo4j is that all entities are represented as nodes. So nodes can have a label, which is supposed to define the structure of or the purpose of this node within your database or within your schema in this case. The node can have several properties, and think of a property just like key value pairs. So if you come from JavaScript, this is like the same thing as an object, or if you come from Python, this would be a dictionary. And you can have as many properties as you want within Neo4j. So in this case, we made a node, and within that node, we defined a series of properties that we learned about John, like his name, his profession, and where he lives. The most interesting part about Neo4j, though, is the ability to create directional named relationships and save them within the database. So in this case, let's make a second Jane node. So as you see, it has the same label as person, and the properties in this case are about Jane. So what makes Neo4j really unique is that you can create a named relationship. In this case, we're going to say the relationship of lived with. If you notice that some of the elements here within my diagram here are kind of written kind of funny, I'm trying to represent the cipher query language, which we'll go to in more detail in a subsequent video. But you can see I'm creating a named relationship between John, and that I'm saying in a directional manner that he lives with Jane. And this is actually written to the disk when you define this relationship, which increases the performance. So that way, when you're doing runtimes, these relationships are being built on the fly. Let's kind of expand this out a little bit more too. You can create subsequent relationships between Jane and other objects. For example, let's say I want to make another entity of a thing called animal. And I can create a relationship that says Jane owns this animal. Similarly, I can create other relationships and other nodes like a hobby node, and say Jane enjoys this hobby. All right, so you might be asking yourself, what makes Neo4j so different than other databases? Well, the interesting thing is that since the relationships between these entities are written to disk, you can perform much more complicated queries to understand deeper relationships between the entities themselves. In this case, if you notice that within the John node, he lives in California. His residence is in California. But through the relationship of lives with, I can also see that Jane must also live in California. While this is kind of a simple example, we'll show in subsequent videos how you can perform very deep, in-depth analysis using Neo4j Desktop to understand deeper relationships between entities that you might have otherwise overlooked. That's it for this quick introduction. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please like and subscribe to the channel. It really helps me out. If anyone has any questions about Neo4j, please leave them in the comments and I'll try to answer them to the best of my ability. Thanks so much. Bye.